What is up, everybody? This is Adam. Welcome back to Fouled Out. Mercifully, we are shifting gears on the podcast today to talk about NBA basketball. We are no longer talking about the NFL and Super Bowl 60, which my favorite team, the New England Patriots, lost. I am very, very ready to talk about something else. If you guys are still interested in our reactions to Super Bowl 60, you can go back and check out last week's episode where we talked about the game in depth and my feeling about the New England Patriots going forward. Today, Matt and Devin are going to be joining me to talk about my top 5 most interesting subplots for the quote-unquote second half of the NBA season. We are recording this on Wednesday, the 18th. It's going to drop on Thursday, the first day that the NBA comes back from the All-Star break. So very good time to do this podcast coming off of what was a way more exciting All-Star break than we thought it was going to be. They actually fixed the All-Star game. For all of the boom and bluster about how much the All-Star game sucks and how much they need to fix it and how awful everything is, this was probably the best All-Star game that we've had in quite some time, which is, I think, a good thing overall, even though it doesn't really matter. But there's some takeaways from that. And then, going into the quote-unquote second half of the season, we've already played more than half of the NBA season. We really got like 1/3 left. We're going to look at the top 5 things I'm going to be following, the storylines I think are the most interesting, and have Devin and Matt react to those. But before we get started, just a reminder, you can reach out to us, fouledOutSports@gmail.com. Really appreciate you guys listening. We always love to hear from you. Hit me up if you want to talk NFL offseason. Baseball is coming up. We got Olympic hockey. Like, what an awesome day for Olympic hockey today. We had 3 games go to overtime. Seems like we might get a U.S.-Canada gold medal game, which would be super exciting. And just, yeah, awesome. Still an awesome time for sports. And the plan for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be doing NBA for about 4 podcasts, including today, before we get into March Madness. So lots of good stuff coming up. But for now, let's grab Matt and Devin. Let's talk about my top 5 subplots of the remainder, the last third of the NBA season. Let's go. All right, Matt and Devin are here for the first NBA podcast of the season. Guys, how you doing?
It's so good to be able to talk about my team that's actually performing well.
It's been what, 18 years pretty much since they were like a good team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion,
Yeah,
it's like, yes, they've made the playoffs a couple of times, but I mean,
yeah,
since they were like a dominant force.
There's a difference between being good and making it as an 8th seed that's guaranteed to get swept.
Yeah, this podcast is a complete turning of the tables because we're just wrapped up NFL coverage where Matt's team was extremely disappointing this season, and my team somehow made it all the way to the Super Bowl. And now we go to a league where Matt's team is one of the best teams in the league, I think a half a game out of first place. And my team is the very, very worst possible team that you could be in the entire NBA. I've been dreading
Adam,
switching, but I know you're excited.
All I can say is get fucked. No.
Yeah. Well,
hey, it sounds like Sabonis is done for the year, so your tank is in full effect.
You're in full tank.
I honestly worry about the Kings. So now like Zach LaVine and Domantas Sabonis are out for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are we going to get better now without those guys? I think we're now going to start winning more games without, like, especially Zach LaVine. As soon as I saw he was out, people are like, yeah, the tank is going. And I'm like, no, was the tank. He's the tank commander. We need him. We need him to lose as many games as possible. But we'll touch on all of our teams today because Devin joined us. He's also a Pistons fan.
Yeah.
You know it.
Let's talk about your guys' team first. So the theme of the podcast today, I came up with my top 5 most interesting subplots for the last third of the NBA season. So they're not really in a particular order. I did put this one first because Matt has been chomping at the bit to talk about the Pistons for so long. Now he's tried to shoehorn the Pistons into so many NFL conversations.
It might have been chomping at the bit to talk about anything other than the Lions, but
that's fair.
This is so fucking needed to be one of like a handful of teams that have more than 2 NBA championships, but go as long as they have without actually being good. Genuinely not good for the city of Detroit. Like,
yeah. So this is subplot number 1. Is Detroit the best team in the NBA? So coming out of the All-Star break, they're 40-13. They are half a game behind OKC for the best record in the league. And the vast majority of power rankings, like ESPN, the New York Times, I think it was like Yahoo, The Athletic, there's quite a few power rankings that actually have the Pistons number 1 overall. So I'll let you guys start. Do you guys feel like the Pistons are the best team in the East, the best team in the league? Like, where are we at with Detroit?
I want to believe they're the best team in the league. I really want to believe it. I don't know though. I mean, it's certainly the best team in the East, obviously. I would take them over anybody. How many times have we played the Thunder this year? Have we played the Thunder at all this year? I'm trying to think if we have.
I don't think we have.
I don't think we have. So it's like, I want to see us go up against, maybe just see what a matchup against them looks like.
Yeah, they play a week from today,
okay.
but we don't know if Shea is going to play.
And that's a big
or not.
Yeah.
He was out. Yeah, he was out before the All-Star break with the abdominal injury. I guess it's worth noting, too, that while you guys are 0.5 games back of the Thunder, you've played 3 less games. So, once you've played those 3 games, could easily be ahead of them by a full game.
I just think it's incredible how, I mean, not only are they the best team in the East, but where they came from 2 years ago, that turnaround within such a short period of time is like incredible to me. It's a great story.
Well,
it's, we have a guy leading the team who actually gives it 100%, actually cares, wants to be really good. I don't know.
Dog on defense.
He is.
Like,
I just did not see him being this kind of a defensive player. I just did not see him. Being this kind of defensive player. He had he always had flashes of it.
Yeah.
But
like you might see that from like a big man who's a star.
Yeah.
You don't see that from a perimeter oriented player. Like ever anymore, right? Like I feel like that's like really rare about him. And then like you look at where the Pistons are, Detroit and OKC are the only 2 teams that, what was his name? Phil Jackson's theory of you need to win 40 games before losing 20 to have a chance to win the championship, right? I think over like the last 30 years, there's only been 3 championship teams that haven't done that. Detroit and OKC are the only 2 teams that have done that yet so far. And there are only 2 other teams that have a chance of doing that this year. And I think Boston basically has to like win like 3 or 4 in a row in order to do that. I feel very confident in saying that Detroit is the best team in the East. I agree with you that I would very much like to see Detroit go up toe-to-toe with OKC at full strength to have a measuring stick on that. But I think also, like, it's worth noting that the Pistons have had a number of games this year where, like, they played with nobody on the court. Damn near, if not all of their starters were out. And still won those games against teams that are, like, not going to be top 5 NBA picks. It's also interesting to see how it really is the depth of this team too. That's like, yeah, when our starters go out, like we're gonna beat your ass because B-Ball Paul is just out for blood.
Yeah, no, Paul Reed's awesome. And there's just been a couple wins this year too. Like there was the one against the Knicks. I don't remember how much they won by, but I just feel like every time we've played the Knicks, we look so good this year. And that was our playoff matchup that we lost to last year. Like we're clearly better than the Knicks for a lot of different reasons, but we're clearly better than the Knicks this year. And I just love the team, man. They are a Detroit Pistons team. A lot of defense. It's like anytime they're ever good, they have a team that's kind of built this way. Obviously, with the modern era, things are different, but I mean, it's just a very strong defensive unit all around.
I was thinking that same thing, that it seems like anytime the Pistons are good, like, I mean, like really good, like where they're at right now, it always ties back to this identity of we're going to figuratively and literally punch you in the mouth every chance we get. Like Bad Boys Pistons, 04 going to work Pistons, this team, like all of those very tough, very defensive oriented, like you're 100% right, Devin, that it's a completely different league nowadays. So like the numbers don't look the same where you're like, oh, they're, one of the best teams in defensive rating this year, but they're giving up like 110 points a game. It's just like, that's just the NBA we live in nowadays. But this like tough mentality, and Matt and I just talked about the fight they had against the Hornets on the last episode of this podcast, but it's always those type of guys. Like, so you have the star, you have Cade Cunningham, who every time we talk Cade, Matt and I will take our victory lap because we loved him in the draft way before he was a Piston. You have him, but like you always have like, the Bill Laimbeer kind of guy, the like, I don't know, Tayshaun Prince, like Rip Hamilton kind of guy. And that's like the Jalen Duren beef stew type of guy on this team, where it's like they're very good players in their own right, but like the toughness and the fortitude they bring to the team is like really kind of what takes this team to the next level.
I think it matters that Beef Stew is like the tough guy, right?
The enforcer.
He's certainly outside of the Detroit fandom, he is definitely looked at as like more of the thug, right? But you look at what he actually is as a player, like elite rim defender, like and actually pretty good defender out in space. Like I have no problem with him being on defense out on the wing. He moves really well laterally, and then like he's like a bulldozer offensively if he's down low, and his 3-point shot has significantly improved over the last 3 years to the point where you can't just leave him alone. Like, I don't know that you're not worried about him like you are with Duncan Robinson, but like, shit, you can't sag off him 10 feet. Like, he's gonna knock it down. When your enforcer is an actual, like, really good NBA player, that changes things a lot. Like this, if he were to hit free agency, he's gonna make good money, and it's not because of the enforcer stuff. Like, he's gonna make good money because he's a good NBA player.
There's a lot of talented dudes on this roster. It's not just like, I feel like a lot of like the outside opinion is like, oh, they're like tough defensive team, they got a bunch of thugs, and then it's like Cade and all this stuff. I mean, like, there's so many good guys. We haven't even said the name Kevin Huerter yet.
Oh my gosh, he's going off.
And if we keep naming good guys, we probably never will. So I agree with you guys. I think the Pistons are good, but there's like, not to throw cold water on the conversation here, but I have two kind of takes on the Pistons. One is, I think all of these publications putting them as the number one team in the NBA right now is a bit hot takey, and they're new and it's shiny and it's fun to say like, this is the best team. I haven't seen a reason to dethrone OKC yet as the best team in the NBA. Pistons are a very, very good 7.9 point differential per game. OKC is 11.7. So, like almost 4 full points ahead of the Pistons, who are in second place in the NBA. OKC also number one in offensive and defensive rating this season, and that's with J-Dub missing significant time and with Shea missing some time as well. So it's like the same thing with OKC that you said about the Pistons. It's like, it's just, they're so deep that
Yep.
Even like missing Shea and missing J-Dub for points
Yeah.
in the season hasn't really mattered to them. They're just stomping people anyway. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I want to see that matchup. We don't know if Shea's going to be back post All-Star game.
Yeah.
But I think this is like a super interesting time for the Pistons because Matt and I were just talking about this in the pre-show meeting. This podcast comes out on Thursday. The following Monday, they play the Spurs, and then Wednesday they play OKC. Both games in Detroit. So it's like a good measuring stick time because you have Victor Wembanyama and then potentially OKC coming to Detroit.
Yeah, and I think they need those matchups because come playoff time, like those are the matchups they're going to have to reflect back upon when they run into roadblocks in the playoffs. I also remember what the defensive strategy for Cade Cunningham was in the playoffs last year. I want to know what is the answer if Cade gets blitzed at half court every single play. You mentioned Kevin Huerter. Man, like I totally get that Jaden Ivey is not produced this year in part because coming off injury, in part because of his role. I get that there was probably a business decision there, but the explosiveness that he provides is something that I want on the court with Cade Cunningham when he's getting blitzed, because that is the kind of player that can penalize that strategy if you can get the ball to him.
And he can shoot over 30% from three.
Actually,
Yeah.
Which he hasn't done in a couple of years.
I can't stand all the publications being like, oh, they traded for a sharpshooter, and I'm like, did they though? Like, did they really?
Traded for a sharpshooter who couldn't get minutes.
A former one-season sharpshooter?
Yeah, he literally had one season where you're like, that guy can shoot the ball. It's just, I don't know.
Hey, that season was beautiful and majestic and will go down in Kings history as the greatest season ever because he was great for the Beam team until we got to the playoffs. On a different note, you know, speaking of the playoffs, that's the last note I had for the Pistons was I want to see what this iteration of the Pistons looks like when we get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because, like, last year they should have beaten New York. However, they weren't particularly great in that New York series. Like, Cade shot 18% from three and had 32 turnovers in 6 games. And like you said, you know, the New York's like, yeah, we have a ton of guys to throw at Cade. We got all these like big wings. We have all this stuff. We're going to blitz him at half court. Like, what are you guys going to do about it? And if I had to pick an Achilles heel of the Pistons when it comes to playoff time, I'm still looking at who is that secondary creator, who's that secondary scorer, who is going to be the guy that Jaden Ivey was always supposed to be and wasn't for whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, and
is it Kevin
in
Huerter?
Fairness,
is the question.
Right? In fairness, like prior to Cole Anthony committing war crimes over the course of an NBA season, that was precisely the direction that Jaden Ivey was heading in. So it's frustrating, especially because like if you're gonna make that move to trade him away, I just don't feel like you brought anything back that helps.
Didn't lose any of our defense, or like at least the biggest defensive piece. You know, I was at least happy that we didn't give up some of those guys. You know, like Ron Holland, Javonte Green, guys like that. Like where I'm like, they play their ass off every game, and they're a huge part of why we're successful. Jaden Ivey and Matt, I know we had this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm like, he would have a couple good games and stuff. He was turning the corner a little bit, but I would never say that he was like a huge part of why our team was good this year. But I get what you're saying in terms of like what he was doing before the injury and all that. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. And that's, I think it's hard for people to kind of account for how long it takes to truly recover what you have athletically after you have an injury like that. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like my own expense, I'll talk about the Lions. Like we just saw, like Aiden Hutchinson put up good numbers overall this past year. Like I don't think anyone would say he looked like the guy he was prior to his injury the year before. And like that's should be expected when you basically spend your entire offseason not training, you're rehabbing. Those are two fundamentally different things.
Matt, the whole reason we did this podcast is so you didn't have to talk about the Lions. Don't do this to yourself.
But I am great at nothing if not self-flagellation. So
this is true. So I want to see the Pistons in the playoffs. We will see the Pistons in the playoffs. Yes. My nephew has already made me promise that I would take him to a Pistons playoff game. And I'm like, I would love to do that because I used to really enjoy doing it in the early aughts when they had the going to work Pistons. So subplot number 2 for the last third of the NBA season. What happens if and when Jayson Tatum comes back to Boston? So I feel like this is not being talked about enough. And like people are just like, wow, like Boston is really good without Tatum. If Tatum comes back, Boston is like going to be a contender again. If he can be 80% of Tatum, blah, blah, blah. I think I disagree. So the rumors are circulating that he's coming back soon. And whether they're true or not, like we'll see. You know, he's coming off a torn Achilles that he suffered, 8 months ago, 9 months ago, something like that. And I think it's really interesting because the Celtics, and particularly Jaylen Brown, have not really seemed to miss him, at least from an on-court perspective. So without Jayson Tatum this year, Jaylen Brown has gone to the next level. He is averaging 29.3, 6 rebounds and 7 assists. He has a PER of 22.3, which is a career high. His usage is also a career high. It's up from 29% to 37% this season. So like they really committed this entire season. Like
people learned how to dribble in Tatum's absence.
Well, this was the thing is like they were like, oh man, this is, you know, the Celtics are probably going to be bad. People were talking about like, do the Celtics just tank it out and try to get like a lottery pick to build around when Jayson Tatum comes back? And all of the things that we've criticized Jaylen Brown for over the years. And I will say this is a very pro Jaylen Brown podcast.
Yes.
You know, we constantly have him very high in top 30. We've sang Jaylen Brown's praises for years, but we've been highly critical of a lot of his on-court skills. Yeah. And I don't think anybody could have seen that Jayson Tatum getting hurt was going to give Jaylen Brown a left hand and allow him to dribble through traffic and like just all of the things. They sacrificed Tatum to like make Super Brown basically. And so he's been great. Like he's been enjoying it on the court, but also off the court. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he posted a graphic to his Instagram during the All-Star break that showed last year's Celtics and this year's Celtics. It was like a side-by-side, and it had the record. So last year at the All-Star break, they were 39-16. This year, they're 35-19. They're the 2 seed both years. Offensive rating, they were 4th last year. They're 2nd this year. Defensive rating, they were 5th last year, 9th this year. And net rating, they were 3rd both years. The implication being we're fine without Jayson Tatum is what I read into that. And it could just be Jaylen like trying to give more credit to himself and like not be dissing Tatum. But the way I just read everything that's going on is like, he's going to be pissed if he gets, Tatum comes back and he has to revert to this role of being the second banana.
I think we can't ignore that there have been rumors of a divide between him and Tatum for a couple of years now. And I cannot imagine that him having this much success and the team having this much success in the absence of Jayson Tatum is solving that issue.
If I'm Jaylen, I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, look at what I'm able to do without him. I've outplayed this dude in 2 separate NBA finals.
Yeah.
When we won, I was finals MVP. I was Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Like, he has to feel like he's better than Jayson Tatum. Right? honestly has every right to, because I also feel like he's better than Jayson Tatum. But that's not the public perception is like, hey, Tatum comes back. This is Tatum's team. They got to give Tatum the ball, even if he's coming back off a torn Achilles. And I mean, maybe this year Tatum's able to come and like accept a smaller role because he is coming off the injury and he's not going to be able to play full minutes right away. And it's like, okay, yeah, like maybe he's okay being a role player this year, but like next year he's not going to be. You know that he's going to have something to prove coming off that torn Achilles, especially with like his idol Kobe's career ending with a torn Achilles. Like he's going to have something to prove. Jalen's still got something to prove with him coming back. He's like, this is my team now. I think that it's really interesting, especially because the Celtics have been so good and that they are a potential contender in the East right now.
Jaylen Brown is truly putting on like a mid-range clinic this year. Like it's actually insane. Like the long two game. You guys know I love me some long twos. They're not efficient. Well, I don't know. You got to have the right guys taking them. But
give me that 2000 basketball.
And it's just he's improved his ball handling, and he'll just get into the mid-range and he will just make these very vintage fall away long twos, and he's making them. He's making a lot of them, and he's, obviously putting everything else around it too.
I mean, I would add too that, like, from the human side of things, like, look, we've talked about how, as a person, by all accounts, Jayson Tatum seems to be like a perfectly fine human being, right? Seems to be a good dad, all that stuff. Not getting into like ants off court kind of antics, right? The problem with his personality is that he comes off because of the choices that he makes in representing himself very disingenuous, which is something that is like universally despised. Like there's no one who's like, you know what I love about people? Being disingenuous. And so like you add that into things as with someone like inserting themselves into a role that pushes people out of a role that they've earned over the course of a season and having plenty of success without them, like it's very easy to see how that could spiral. Now, granted, we were talking about the Boston Celtics, so in all likelihood, we are not going to get this satisfaction. It's probably going to end up being fine and nothing changes, but there will probably just be drama around it.
There would be no way imaginable that Jayson Tatum is going to be like the leader of the offense coming back after that kind of injury.
Yeah.
But moving forward, for sure, it's like, is he, Achilles injuries are still awful in any sport. Yeah. So it's just like, if he's able to like get back to 95% of where he was, is he going to be okay with this moving forward a year? How's that going to look for them, as kind of a duo again? Be interesting to see for sure.
I know he's older, but we just saw that Kyrie Irving, who got injured before Tatum did, is not coming back this year to fully rehabilitate from his ACL. Not even an Achilles.
And it's like, this is a conversation for a different topic for sure, but it's like, why? Like, does Tatum even need to come back? Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess if they're this good, he should, but I don't know.
I think that's the hard thing is like, if you rush him back, are you doing him a disservice and the team a disservice? But also like on the Kyrie front, Tatum is just like genetically a freak of nature. Like Kyrie's not, this Adonis like figure kind of thing. Like Tatum is kind of like a genetic freak. So it's not totally surprising to me, especially being younger, that he could come back sooner. But also we know how devastating an Achilles injury can be for a bigger guy. Although, with technology and surgeries and all that stuff, it seems like things are getting better. But the thing I'm really most interested in Boston is, like we said, next season and beyond is like Tatum's going to have something to prove coming back. But we know with Achilles injuries, it's usually not the first year back. It's like the second year back that you're really back to yourself. So I think it's just interesting because they have one of the best duos in the NBA when fully healthy. and there's just so much drama around it. But Matt's right, it's Boston, so it's probably just like, yeah, they're cool. Like, we'll just keep getting these leaks about like Jaylen Brown's not happy, and then they'll go out and like be one of the best teams in the East again next year, and they'll be like, oh yeah, they're fine.
Yeah,
Subplot,
turns out winning fixes damn near everything. So
yeah. Subplot number 3, tanking. I'm gonna subvert expectations here first, because almost every podcast in the world is talking about tanking right now, and they're like, how do we fix it? How do we get better? I think the more interesting thing about tanking for the rest of this year is who can do it the best without getting in trouble. We've seen this. The Jazz have been basically pulling all of their starters for fourth quarters, and like they'll be winning going into the fourth quarter, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna play like guys, 9 through 12 or whatever. We're gonna bench Jaren Jackson Jr. and Lauri Markkanen. The Wizards rolled out an active lineup of 8 guys making a combined $13.5 million this season, which like it's nearly impossible to pick 8 NBA players and have their salaries combined for only $13.5 million.
I would guess that the average 7th man on most teams is making around $13 million.
Yeah. So they roll out an entire active lineup of dudes making $13.5 million, playing against the Brooklyn Nets, who are also one of the worst teams in the NBA, whose lineup was making like $149 million.
Yeah.
We've seen the Pacers also got fined for tanking. We've seen the Sacramento Kings just dare to exist this season, which in and of itself is probably against the rules. But they're going to do something to crack down on this egregious level of tanking that we've seen so far this season. Like, it's February 18th and we've already been talking about how do we fix tanking for a month. I want to see who can get creative enough to like go right up to the edge of getting in trouble, but not get in trouble and continue to lose basketball games in new and innovative ways. I'm more interested in that than I am in like, how do we fix it? Because I don't think it's fixable. I know, Matt, you have your feelings about how to fix it.
I mean, I guess my thing is like, how long has tanking been a thing realistically? It's been around forever. Like, if they wanted to fix it, it would have been fixed a long time ago. I mean, but also the media outrage has never been to the level of what it is now in terms of like, I guess, the public's eye on this sort of thing. So maybe something will change. Yeah. Who knows?
Well, I also think this conversation is like uniquely NBA because nobody hates the NBA more than NBA fans.
100%.
And every year, every NBA topic is like, this sucks. How do we fix it? It's like the All-Star game is horrible. How do we fix it? And like, to their credit, they did fix it this year. But NBA fans can't just be happy with the product. They're like, this sucks. We're shooting too many threes, and this sucks. These teams are losing on purpose, and the All-Star game sucks, and this sucks, and this sucks. And like, it just feels like every single year, every NBA conversation that becomes mainstream is like about something bad about the NBA. And I feel like, like the NFL doesn't have that problem. People are just like, yeah, football. And because football fans like football, NBA fans hate basketball, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's an exposure level, right? I mean, there's way, way more basketball games than there are football games. So, I mean, if there's only one game a week, you only get 17 in a year, right? Like, you're treasuring those a lot more than you treasure any individual NBA game. Yeah. And I would also say that the NFL just plays their fans a lot better. Like, I don't necessarily like their tactics a lot of the time, but their tactics work for what they're trying to do. And the NBA just continues to not seem to know how to manipulate their own market and essentially trip over their own dick.
I was going to say, I think the key difference is the NFL is like, how do we make more money? And the NBA is like, how do we alienate more people?
Yes.
Fuck, how do we make our product harder to watch? Let's figure it out.
But don't worry. I think it's a It's a highlight sport. You can just watch highlights.
Yeah, it'll be okay. Just get a TikTok. I think Devin had the good point here is like tanking's been around forever.
Yep.
They've tried things to curtail it and fix it. And like tanking really started, I think it was like the Houston Rockets trying to get Ralph Sampson back before there was an NBA lottery, where they were really the first team ever to be like, what if we just lost every game on purpose and got the best guy from college? And so they like put in a lottery. And then, you know, years later, people are like, well, I'm just going to tank and just have the best odds I can. And they're like, well, we'll just flatten the odds. And people are like, you know what? Still worth it. Still worth it to have the best odds I can.
So here's my thing with that. And I'm not going to say whether or not the NBA should try to end tanking or not. Let's look at it from a perspective of, you know, human behavior, because these are humans making decisions to tank, right? Adam, if your child refuses to do their chores because they are sitting there on their phone, scrolling through TikToks, sending Snapchats, how do you solve that?
By beating them.
Yes. I mean,
punishing them.
No, like you're going to take their phone away, right? You're taking away the thing that they want to be doing. You got to take away the reward. If teams are tanking for a pick, the way you stop that is by taking away their pick for tanking. Like this isn't hard. They haven't done that.
I also think beating the GMs would work.
We can do
just
both.
beat them into submission.
I mean,
yeah.
Well, I've heard about a billion different ways to like fix tanking, and I know Matt and I have talked about this often, where Matt's like, just take away their pick. My worry with that is like, so you have to have some kind of like guideline for what's going to get your pick taken away. It's like, is it a strike system? Is like 3 strikes and you're out? Which I think that if you put that in place, it adds such a level of intrigue to the NBA season, where it's just like, okay, this team clearly sucks. They get 3 strikes, so you're obviously going to use 2 of them. And it's like, how do I strategically, like, oh, we got Sacramento on Tuesday, let's fucking use one of our strikes and we'll just tank that game. And the NBA is like, oh, don't do it again. And then they're like, oh, we got the Jazz on Wednesday, let's do it again. So like, when you use your 2 strikes, I think would be fascinating. This is what I'm saying. I'm more interested in how do we get creative and lose more basketball games than I am with like, how do we fix this? But one of the best solutions I've heard is the ball of death. Have you guys heard this? This is my favorite solution. That you have to televise the lottery, and whoever the top 4 teams are that have the best odds, or the top 3 teams or whatever, there is a ball of death. It's like a little black ping pong ball that has a skull and crossbones on it. And if you get it, your pick automatically goes to like the end of the first round. So you get pick like 32 if you get the ball of death, and you televise it, and you have all the
30.
GMs like sitting there watching 30. You have all the GMs just sitting there watching it. It's like, ball of doom. Oh, Hornets. Oh no. And they're like, are losing their shit on the broadcast. And the Hornets GM is like beside himself. And
that sounds like a more complicated way of taking away their pick.
Yeah, but it's entertainment value.
It is entertaining.
TV revenue, and it's good for everybody. You know, it's good for the league. It's good for us. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I have to say though, I'm pro tank. Not from like an NBA enjoyment perspective, where I'm like, oh, this Jazz game is going to be great. Hope they don't pull Jaren Jackson and Lauri Markkanen for the 4th quarter. I mean, from like a team building perspective, because the impact that, and you guys know this from being Pistons fans and watching Cade Cunningham, the impact that a superstar player has on an NBA team is so like disproportionate to any other sport. Like the impact that they have on an NBA team is massively outsized compared to basically anything except a star quarterback in the NFL. That's the kind of impact we're talking. And for a lot of teams, like, you know, as a Sacramento fan, we can't get one of those guys unless we draft them.
Yeah.
It will not happen. We can't sign for him. We can't trade for him because the player empowerment era has made it so guys get to pick where they want to be traded. They do not want to be traded to Sacramento. Can't blame them.
What?
You have to draft one, right? Yeah. So what are these teams like? Yeah, we had our opportunity. Blew it.
It's unfortunate that Marvin Bagley didn't work out, but
glad this came back up on this podcast. But I mean, like even a team like the Jazz are better than being a bottom 5 team, but they're not good enough to be a top 10 team in the West and even make a play-in, even if they played their hearts out all season. So like, what are they supposed to do? Just go 30-52 forever and be completely mediocre? There's nothing else they can do except for purposely lose games. Like,
I would start by not trading away assets to get Jaren Jackson Jr.
I get what Adam's saying though, because it's like, it makes sense where it's like, if you're bad, where you try to like, it's not like you're rewarding a team for being bad for like giving them a high draft pick, but it's like you should have equal opportunity to like draft high if your team is struggling.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you balance that, which makes a lot of sense with also anti-tank.
Okay.
It's a hard balance to
hear me out. So we have the playoffs, right? What if we have a postseason tournament to determine the draft order of the lottery? So all the bad teams have to play each other.
But can I tell you why this isn't fair? My team legitimately sucks ass.
Yeah.
It's like, we are just really, really, really bad, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to be good, and we're so bad at trying to be good that we ended up being legitimately and ethically horrible at basketball. We can't win a postseason tournament that determines the pick, right?
You said that you advanced by winning.
Yeah, but then teams would just tank that out too, right? But like, this is the thing: is the Sacramento Kings are an ethical tank.
Honestly, I do believe in the Kings' ability to ethically lose better than teams actively tanking.
Nobody loses better than us, let me tell you. But like, we have an awful coach. We have an awful roster. We're so bad. Truly the only salvation for the Sacramento Kings can be to get a high pick in this draft.
Yeah.
And this is the other thing that's exacerbating tanking this season, is that this draft is amazing.
Yeah.
There are 3 dudes in this draft who are seen as like all NBA caliber players, and then 3 more dudes who are seen as all-star level players. So even just tanking enough to get in the bottom 3 and guaranteeing yourself a top 6 pick, you're getting a shot at an all-star.
I'm totally not against teams roster building in a way where they're like, we're just gonna strip down to spare parts this year, be bad, do our best to get a good pick, because that's our only hope. I do think that there do need to be measures taken to discourage what the Jazz are doing, or what the Mavs did for Cooper Flag, right? Like,
yeah,
it's just like it all almost feels like a moot point, because the NBA has also rigged the lottery in the past anyways. So
like, this has been the thing, and this is the fate that I think teams are trying to avoid, is the fate of the Sacramento King, where we have been bad for a very long time, except for 1 year, but not bad enough to get good.
Yeah.
Right. We're really lucky in one lottery and we blew it. But aside from that, we've been like a 20-30 win team. We're like a perennial play-in team for a couple of years there. Yeah. You're not bad enough to get good, basically. And my really true fear is that we finally suck. We finally are bottoming out, and it's like, this is the best year to bottom out. Because worst case scenario, you get to draft like a CJ Wilson. Best case, it's AJ DeBansta, right?
Yeah.
And my fear is that the NBA is going to look at this season and all the tanking and be like, we're rigging the lottery. We're giving the pick to, like, whoever is the 13th or 14th team. And they're like, we're just going to push down everybody. Fuck these guys. And the Kings, who are ethically tanking and suck, are going to get punished along with all these other tanking teams just because we're bad.
I mean, things will never go well for the Kings, though. It's like, I feel like,
No.
Well, truly, though, like, Matt was like, you guys are going to fall out of the top 4. You're going to get you're going to be the worst team in the league and get the 5th pick. And I was like, you don't understand how Kings basketball works, Matt. We will get the 2nd pick, and we will not pick AJ DeBansta.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they'll be like, Darren Peterson goes number 1, and we'll be like, we take CJ Wilson. And we'll be like, not
that
again.
Is precisely why the NBA will allow it. So.
Yeah. And I'll get my hopes up because I love AJ. And honestly, like right now, February 18th, if I had the number 1 overall pick in the draft, I would take AJ DeBansta over Darren Peterson. We'll talk about that later, but
yeah,
I know what's going to happen is that we're going to get the 2nd pick. Peterson will go first. I'll be like, yes, finally, we're going to have our superstar, and we'll pick someone who's not AJ DeBansta. But subplot number 4. The Cleveland Cavaliers traded for James Harden to solve their playoff problems. So, in the past 3 years, the Cleveland Cavaliers have won 51, 48, and 64 games. Those 3 seasons resulted in a 4-1 loss in the first round, a 4-1 loss in the second round, where granted Donovan Mitchell was hurt, but still a 4-1 loss. And then last year, after winning 64 games, a 4-1 loss in the second round to the Indiana Pacers. Clearly, something is not working with they call it like the core 4. It was Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, and Evan Mobley. Something had to change. They changed it this year by trading Darius Garland for James Harden. I think if you take the history out of things, a trade that makes a lot of sense on paper, where it's like, okay, Garland is much younger, but not as good this season. Like, James Harden has been playing very well for the Clippers. Garland is always hurt when it comes playoff time. Like, he's missed a lot of the playoff games that they did play in the last couple of years. And he's had a lot of friction with Donovan Mitchell. He'd asked for a trade. He wasn't going to be traded. They find this James Harden trade because due to the second apron stuff, they basically have to trade one of their guys for someone who makes the exact same salary. And like the only player in the entire NBA who's making the same salary as Darius Garland, or within like a percentile chance who's better than him, is James Harden. And, they kind of like luck into this deal, except for the fact that James Harden is most well known for playoff flameouts. The same thing that Cleveland is very well known for. So the subplot I'm most interested in is, like, I think there are 2 things that could happen that are both maybe equally interesting. One, probably the more likely scenario, it doesn't work. Harden is horrible in the playoffs, and Cleveland has another heartbreaking playoff exit. 2, less likely, but maybe even more interesting, what if it does work? And Cleveland is like really good and wins the East? That might be more fun.
I will say, in terms of regular season performance, James Harden, after he's left Houston, like, I was not really sure how he was going to be performing in, his mid-30s, basically. He's been a really good player in the regular season. Like, I don't want to say really good, but he has been a solid player. He's aged. I mean, his game, like, ages well enough. He's not quite as efficient as he used to be. But yeah, I don't know. In the playoffs, he's one of those players to me, like, where you look at his basketball reference for the playoffs, and it still looks decent. Like, the scoring is there and stuff, but when you look into like the individual series that he loses in, that's when things start to get pretty muddy. This
is why we podcast, because if you go on James Harden's like basketball reference and look at his playoff averages, it's actually like not that bad.
No.
But we need some kind of recorded history of this dude like in game, what was it? Was it last year or the year before they had a game 7? He didn't even look at the rim one time. Never even looked. And like yeah, this was like the same thing with Karl Malone. Is like people are like, God, Karl Malone is so great. And the people who like actually watched him in the playoffs and wrote about him and like talked about him are like, no,
he impregnated a 12-year-old.
Well, that too.
For sure. It's like people like 20 years from now,
you know,
you're absolutely right. Like 20 years from now, people are going to look at James Harden's stats and be like, holy cow, this guy's got to be like, I mean, he's got to be like
this dude is like the
third best shooting guard ever, right? Yeah. Like
we need like historians in the moment to say like this. I really do think this is like the value of things like podcast and like documentaries and stuff as far as sports goes, at least, is to say like in the moment, like, no, like this happened, right?
Yeah.
It's a long history of this happening with him.
Yeah. Yeah. This is not a case of, yeah, this guy was just let down by the teams around him. He never had the help. Like, no.
Good teams.
He's played on some very talented teams and like never shows up in the biggest moments in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And like, that's kind of all I need to know when I look at him historically. I'm like, yeah, no, like, very good player. I don't know if I could even push him into like the top 10 shooting guards for me all time because of what he's done in the playoffs. Like,
yeah. I wanted to ask you guys this, something I thought about. I think so. A lot of times I'll be walking my dog and I just like, I'm thinking about random stuff. And I was telling my mom the other day, or my dad, I was telling someone that I need to start recording voice memos while I walk the dog because I have like these ideas to talk about on the pod and then I completely forget about them. And this was one I thought about. It's James Harden related. The series where they played the Kevin Durant Warriors in the Western Conference Finals and Chris Paul blew out his hamstring. Has there ever been a moment in NBA history that would change the way that we think about more players' legacies than like if Chris Paul could have stayed healthy and the Rockets win the championship that year? Because Harden gets a championship as the best player on a team. Chris Paul gets a championship. Curry has one less. The Durant Warriors have one less.
Yeah.
Like how much does that swing the conversation about like all of those guys if the Rockets are able to pull off that upset? I would say like series wise, that is one of the most influential in the history of the NBA.
Yeah, at
least just the way we talk
I don't think
about
it's
guys.
quite on that level, but I mean, the Nets with Durant toe on the line, right? Like, literally just that one play, like an inch further back, and like that does completely change things for, again, potentially Durant, Harden, Giannis, right? Like
for Giannis, it really does for sure, because I don't think it's a guarantee the Nets go on to win the championship that year. Yeah. I think it's actually what's more likely because of like KD's tank was absolutely on empty at that point from carrying that team. I think what's more likely that year is the Suns probably win the championship. And so we're like, hey, we're talking about... You
are forgetting that they had DeAndre Ayton, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But again, though, Chris Paul was on that Suns team. So now we're like, Chris Paul, Devin Booker. Does it change the way we talk about DeAndre Ayton years later? But yeah, it's just... I was just thinking about that randomly. I was like walking my dog for like 30 minutes, and the whole 30 minutes, I was like, how would things be different if the Rockets had just pulled that one, not even without Chris Paul, if they just don't go 0 for 27 from 3, like bricking 27 straight threes in game 7. Yeah, it's awful. Yeah. But they like the finals was a walkover for the Warriors after that. So
because DeAndre Ayton.
Subplot number 5, the final subplot. Victor Wembanyama. That's the plot. So the Spurs are 38-16. They're in second place in the West. One of the things that really saved the All-Star game is that Wemby came out and was like, fuck you, I'm the best player in the NBA and I'm going to prove it. And all the American players were like, whoa, absolutely not. And everybody kind of went off in different ways in the All-Star game is what made it really fun. But Wemby is absolutely out to prove that he's the best player in the world. Right now, he's averaging 24.4, 11.1 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks, and 1 steal in 29 minutes per game. This dude's per 36 is 30, 14, 4, 4, and 1. Like, he's putting up absolutely insane stats. He's got a PER of 28, which is third, only behind Jokic and Shea. His offensive rating is 119. His defensive rating is 103. Like, he's here. He's here. And, like, knock on wood, this dude stays healthy. I'm so interested to see what he can do in the playoffs. I was looking at the seeding right now. The Spurs would be the 2nd seed. The Nuggets would be the 3rd seed, meaning that round 2, we would have a Victor Wembanyama, Nikola Jokic playoff series. Like, give me all of that. Because that's like, this dude is here for all of the smoke. And I love it from like a young dude just being like, you know what? This is my league now. I'm ready. And trying to force that transition.
He's unbelievable. I just like the stuff he doesn't even. It's just, I don't know. The athleticism is just so far removed from what everyone else is doing in such an extreme way. I am like concerned where I'm not, I don't want to say concerned. That's not the right word, but I'm like, is he going to be a guy where it's like at best, he's like always playing like 28 to 29 minutes per game throughout his career, which isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world, especially if that's keeping him healthy and is going to allow him to play like a 10+ year career, hopefully longer than that. But you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, his numbers even at 29 minutes per game are insane, but I'm like, is he ever going to be able to play like 40 minutes in a playoff game? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I
think it changes the way you have to build your roster.
Yeah.
And I do wonder how feasible that is when the reality is like, yeah, this is going to be a supermax player, right? So like, are you going to be able to pay another high-level guy to build that roster around him?
It's a great point.
Yep. Well, I think that's all. Those are all of the things that are so interesting about if they make the playoffs this year is like, you know, he's playing 29 minutes per game. Is it just to keep him healthy through the course of an NBA season? And then we're going to crank that up in the playoffs. Like if they get into a series against Jokic, he's going to have to play significant minutes against the triple-double cocaine bear. You can't just let him go out there, which just the best nickname that I've ever heard. But like in that series, he's going to have to play 35 plus minutes a game, possibly more, like, cause he's the only weapon you have against Nikola Jokic. But like that, I'm just so interested to see what he does, man. Cause for him to come out and have that attitude, like there was really 2 things that saved the All-Star game. One was Victor Wembanyama being like, and did you guys see what Nick Wright said about like how he would fix the All-Star game?
I did.
He wanted to do white.
I unfortunately, that was against my will.
Yeah, so
I try to ignore him as much as I can.
If you didn't see it, he says he wants to do whites versus blacks, and he's like, tell me those guys wouldn't play hard. And in a way, the NBA kind of did that, where they're like international versus US, and then you have an international guy being like, I'm the best player now, and all the US guys are like, the fuck you are. And it kind of did light a fire under them to have all the international guys on one team and be like, okay, we are not letting them win. It doesn't matter which US team wins. It's not going to be those guys. So I think that really helped. And then also, I forget the guy's name. I want to give him credit for this because it's funny. Sam Vecini, it's like a NBA reporter, basically said, the NBA said the best part of the All-Star game is the fourth quarter. What if we just did 4 fourth quarters? And that was the All-Star game. And I was on here, I think like last week before the All-Star game being like, this idea is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. I don't even know how they're going to do it. Best All-Star game we've had in forever. Ended up being phenomenal. And they did it at 5 o'clock on a Sunday. Instead of like 8 at night. Like, It was smart, but Victor Wembanyama was a massive reason that All-Star game was so good because he came out with like fuck you energy right away. So,
Yep.
Do we miss it? Those were my 5 subplots for the last part of the season. Did we miss anything?
Nothing big. You know, I'll just throw this out there that like we don't necessarily know one way or the other how this goes, but like, is this LeBron's last year? Is he going to go out on this much of a low light? Like, obviously, despite my critiques of him, one of the best players of all time, like, easily within the top 5. Man, for him, it would be a real disappointing way to go out, but also, given how he's played this year, I don't know that he could reasonably expect to have it be better next year, even if he goes anywhere else. So
easily in the top 5 is the nicest thing that Matt's going to say about LeBron James.
I can't believe you said that. Like, not because it was nice. I was just like, you're only giving him within the top 5?
I didn't say he was 5.
Yeah, but you said he's within. You said he's within the top 5. And you wouldn't even say like, oh, he's like top 3. Like, I mean, because like whatever. He's number 2 all time in my opinion, easily. But it's like top 3. I could like see that. But when you're like within the top 5,
I'm still a real big Bill Russell stan. So.
My one of my favorite things on this podcast is just like the way that Matt phrases things when it comes to LeBron, where he's just like, yeah, LeBron James easily in the top 7, definitely one of the top 7 players of all time. Like, even if Matt has him like 2 or 3, he just like
sit here and
definitely in the top 13.
I will say, like, in terms of for LeBron, it's like, it's just, it would kind of suck if this is how his last season goes in a lot of ways. It's just really tough to nail your exit. I feel like, I mean, we just saw what happened with Chris Paul, and it's like, it certainly won't be that bad, even if this is LeBron's last year. But it's just like,
no, the NBA will bend over backwards to make sure it's not that bad for him.
Well, sure. I don't think it's his last year for 2 reasons. One, we know LeBron. He's going to milk his last year for every single thing that it's worth. Farewell tour, last game in every city. And the NBA wants that too, because like every LeBron game in your city, like, the Lakers come to Detroit once a year. LeBron's last game in Detroit event. LeBron's last game in Cleveland. Oh, that's going to be like the end. That's probably going to be his last game, would be my guess. Is going to be like Lakers at Cavs, and they'll schedule it that way. They'll know. It's not going to be this year. 2, I talked about this on the pod. Like, I think was it last year he broke the scoring record? Or was it the year before?
One of those 2.
Whenever he broke the scoring record, I was talking about this on the pod where I was like, they've done like a very subtle but very good job. And like, of course they did, because it's LeBron's camp, of changing, like trying to change the narrative of, they're not saying, because like whenever you talk LeBron versus Jordan, it's always like, oh, rings. And for a while, LeBron people were like, well, he's been to so many more finals than Jordan. And everybody was like, well, it doesn't matter because you didn't win the finals, right? But there should be some kind of accomplishment. The last couple of years, they've really like shifted the narrative to longevity and like career accomplishments. Like, and they've really pushed this like points agenda of like, the most points ever. And the longer he plays, like, I mean, he's not LeBron, but he's still a good NBA player, right? Like, he's going to be an NBA top 30. He's still one of the better players in the league, and he's still scoring a lot of points. And just the more points that he racks up and the more like belligerent that total gets of how much further he's going to pass Kareem and how unbeatable that record gets. Like, they want to make sure that record never gets broken ever. Like, they want that to be so untouchable that when you are doing the GOAT debate, it's like, hey, rings, but like look at this accomplishment. Michael Jordan could never, because he didn't have the longevity that LeBron James had. So I think that's like a very real thing for him, is like, he's going to play until his body gives out, and they just want all of his totals to be absolutely ludicrous, like stats that no one else will ever touch.
Yeah. I guess the question is, where is he next year? Because I don't know if LA wants it to be there.
I know. We will see. But for now, that is it for us. As always, Fouled Out can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Overcast, anywhere you get your podcast. You can hit us up on Gmail, fouledoutsports@gmail.com. And you can now watch the podcast on YouTube. For those of you that haven't seen it, go over there and check it out. Give us a like and subscribe to help us grow it over there. But however you are checking out the podcast, we really appreciate your support. The game plan for the next couple of weeks, we got 3 more NBA podcasts we're going to do on various topics before March Madness starts. It's like 3 NBA podcasts. I think it's like 3 March Madness podcasts. And then Matt and I are doing NFL draft podcasts. Like we're back to football somehow. And then we come back for the NBA playoffs. So lots of good stuff coming your way. Devin, thank you for jumping on with us today. It's nice to kick off the NBA season with you. And then Matt, I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Bye, Robin.
Bye, Mom.